the block, seen it all raw tough. Streets of Baltimore where survival's always rough. Joined the Marines fighting for a life he could save. But back in the hood, he felt like a runaway slave. Started an army, not of guns but of wisdom. I'm a rock squad, truth the anthem, we ain't just a God killer, Bobby Banger on his path for the truth. Empower the people, give them wisdom as the proof. Black power rising, knowledge shines like a light. He's fighting for the future, ready to ignite.
Man, I did the pop-up drive-by on SaNeters. Let's get into it. Black African power.
All right. All right. To my brother Rakufu. What's up, brother?
Oh, okay. Peace to the family. Leave me up real quick, Sa. I want to say excellent job to the brother. And this is some books, brother, I know you probably read, but these will be very good on your journey. Sheikh Anta Diop, Civilization or Barbarism. The Pale Fox about the Dogon system. Very good read. This was like years and years of research from two French scientists. You did mention the Lubbocks. I got two of his books here.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And last but not least, my favorite, one of Diop's students, Dr. Finch, the star of Deep Beginning, Genesis of African Science and Technology.
Yes, sir.
Real good reads. What I wanted to ask was, in the sciences that the ancestors did possess, like you say, the spirituality played a major part, which I agree, and I meditate as well under the Ra'u Nefer Amen Asar Set Society's meditation, system. But you have to open up certain passages, breathing techniques, and get into the rhythm of chemistry, so you won't be in an Egyptian state of mind, I should say. And so I just want to ask, how do you feel about the meditations and the chants, the rhythm, like basketball or something, being on one accord with the team, African conscious, aware people, so that we can elevate and manifest greatness again?
Yes, great question. Good question. Sorry, hold on.
You can take me off screen, Sa. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I'm very familiar with those books. Great books. I grew up watching Dr. Clark and Ivan Van Sertima and them. My dad made us as kids watch this program called For the People that came on back in the day. So we had to watch that program, and we had to be able to say what we learned from watching that program, or that's how my dad was, yo.
That's right.
So I was very familiar with those books coming up. As a teenager, I read them and didn't grasp them that much until into my 20s, and I started rereading them, going over. So those definitely some good books. I trained in martial arts as a kid coming up as well. So when it comes to meditation and understanding how to do meditation, it was something that I was familiar with.
Yeah.
It was something that as a kid, even though as a kid, we used to just fall asleep. We didn't know what we was doing, But it wasn't until I got older and I started getting to meditation, with my instructor, going into deep meditation, understanding what deep meditation is and how to do it, and the breathing techniques and all that stuff. So for me, I understood right away when I read. There's a brother, I can't think of his name, but he wrote The Tree of Life and Meta Nature. He wrote the book Meta Nature.
Is that Muada Ashby?
No,
I think Muada Ashby wrote The Tree of Life too.
The Tree of Life? Okay, I think that's him. I forgot. It was so many. It was long. Long ago, man. I read that book. About the Meta Nature and The Tree of Life. I read that in about 2005, 2004.
Oh no, I think you're talking about Ra'u Nefer Amen.
Yes, Ra'u. Yes, Ra'u.
Yeah, both of them. Okay, yeah.
I read that book, learning, and when he was talking about, all that understanding the soul and the spirit and understanding how it comes together, and you're connecting with that next dimension in the universe. It was something that connected with me because of my martial arts training and what my teacher would talk about, you know, the stuff that he would talk about, because I came up in a traditional Korean karate style, old school style. So we was deep into, you know, understanding how to heal the body, herbs and medicine, doing meditation,
the energy, chi. Okay.
And all that stuff. So so definitely as a person, as people, you know, today, for me, what I feel, I'll say this. I feel is Western culture is killing Black people. That's how I feel. Yep. Western culture, European culture is killing Black people. And I say that from you just look back, just looking over the history of you know, not just the diet, but the behavior of what we're learning in schools, you know, how our kids are coming out in schools. The thing, I'm not gonna talk about Umar, but we have to let go or separate ourselves from this culture.
You could go in on Umar if you want.
Sorry, I'm mad at
you.
We have to separate ourselves from Western culture. And I know, you know what I'm saying, a lot of us not going to move to an African country or a Black country. So we have to start thinking like the Amish. The Amish are separated. So we could separate ourselves, though. The people, we have to come together and build a community where we are that foundation. We are promoting our kids in the school, and the entertainment and all that is African centered. We have to separate ourselves from this culture, because we're not going to change it from within. It's not going to happen. You know, this is only my second year. You know, this will be my second year teaching in public school. My first year, I've seen it. I've seen how, you know, the teachers, you know, it's just like, hey, ain't nothing going to change. You can try to talk to the kids all you want, but as long as they got that ignorance at home and that ignorant culture at home they embrace, they're going to come to school, you know, and we only literally had 10 students out of the whole grade that passed. The rest of them, they just pushed them along. Just 10 of them who deserved to go to the next grade. And most of them didn't want to learn. Wow. So this whole notion of you know, we're gonna get into the system and change the system from within hasn't been working. And we can look at from about the 60s. You know, a lot of Black people have been working in the government since the 60s.
All right, let me say this real quick. First of all, brother, thank you once again. And I'm thanking you because you brought on, you talked about Dr. Amos Wilson. And Dr. Amos Wilson is forgotten over here. And we gotta keep these names alive. I'm glad you brought him up, because the clip that you played, brother, is what I say all the time, man. And what I say all the time is, when I be having these battles with these Hebrews and they talk about blackness and how degrading blackness is, I always tell them that we got the power to define. And that's what Amos Wilson talked about. We got the power to define our own stuff, our own words. So of course there was a bunch of racists that talked about Black and they talked about how bad it was. But when it came to whiteness, they talked about purity. They talked about golden. And then at the end of it, and Judah said no. But I know Ankh remember this. And I know Suntan will remember this, but at the end of their breakdown of white, they said, as in a Caucasian. How many of y'all remember that? When they broke down the definition of Black and degraded, they said, as in African American. How many of y'all remember that, man, in the dictionary? Y'all don't remember that?
Yep, I was there.
Yeah,
they talked about how Black was so bad and ugly and all of that. And then they say, as in the African, right?
Yep.
Right. That's the way they tried to frame
and
it.
When they talked about white, they talked about how pure it is. You know, and as an angel cake, an angel food cake. And then they said, as in a European. So I was trying to tell Judah Naz that, brother, those were racists who gave those definitions, brother.
That's right.
You know, we got to define our word. And that's what the brother played, the clip of Amos Wilson. I got to go and get that drop. I got to get that, brother. Please send me that in my email if you can. If you can.
Sir, one more
Now,
thing.
hold on, brother. Hold on. At 9 o'clock, I want everybody to know. I just dropped the link in the chat, and then I'm going to bring on Ankh. At 9 o'clock, this is only going to be on the HOK Coliseum. That's why I told y'all to go and subscribe to the Coliseum, hit the likes, hit the links, so that y'all could get notified. This show will only be on the Coliseum channel, and you know what we're going to be talking about. It's going to be, if there were no God, there would be no atheists. I don't know if Ankh agree with that, but I think I agree with that. If there was no God, there would be no atheism, the self-delusion of cope. So we're going to deal with that. We're going to deal with that. If there was no God, Ankh, you wouldn't have a reason to be an atheist. So that's what they say.
Right, okay, if it wasn't, hold on, they saying since it is a God, that's why we're atheists.
Right, right. So is atheism a religion, Ankh?
Of course not.
Okay, some people say it is, and so we're gonna deal with that. And now, Ankh, let me let you know. Be easy on my brother, man. This is his first time in the House of Consciousness, brother. I see you got your pseudo gun ready.
Get him up. Get him up. I want the people to get a copy of this.
All right, go ahead, brother. You got the floor.
It's the Pygmies. We're our compass. It's a Bantu and Botswana in the history of West Africa, early times to 1900s. Get that. Good read for y'all. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Good joint. You know, I always do my good work show. I don't do nothing that's crazy. Y'all see everything in the backdrop right here. This is what we're doing. You already know you smell though, bro. Like, yeah, you do a pseudo. I want to talk about how only white people is pseudo, but our stuff not. You said something. What was that statement? Clarify that for me, Mr. Hercules.
Which
master?
Which one?
You say something that only white people could be pseudo. Did you say that? Practice pseudoscience. Did you say that?
No. I said they say that we practice pseudoscience.
We who?
They say that black people, African ancestors practice pseudoscience.
No. First, you gotta have something has to be. If you look at the definition, something has to be trying to represent science, but actually not. That's pseudoscience.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
According to Western definition of what science is, what traditional African people do or traditional black people do is considered to be pseudoscience. According to that's understand what I'm saying is that that's their definition, but that's not black people. That's not the African people definition. That's not their definition. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so the definitions. Are you saying that was constructed, right? But that's actually a Greek word, all right? Pseudo prefix, that's actually come from the Greek word, but it still applies. So when you're talking about African spirituality and African social systems, anybody that say that pseudoscience, they're pseudo, because that's not true. It has to be acting like it's representing science for it to be pseudoscience. There's no way around that. And so we never classify religions as pseudoscience. Now, if a person try to say the Jesus Christ walking on water is scientific, there you go. And then try to prove it with some kind of scientific measurement, then you can say that's pseudoscience. But a person, religion is just their cultural beliefs. That's it. It's not right. So we got to get that straight. So what African peoples was practicing, early Homo sapiens sapiens, hunter-gatherers. Hunter-gatherers all do the same things, basically. Food, clothing, and shelter. That's it, right? Hunter-gatherer, they're hunting and they're gathering, right? Hunting big game, okay? And they're gathering food sources. The gathering was by the sisters in the community. They was gathering the birds and the fruits and the youngins, all right? That was our staple. The big game, you can go out and try to catch big game for 7-8 days with 10 people, come back with 5. The big game that ate them might not come back with a meal. But we always had a staple of small animals, berries, nuts, fruits, plants. That's always, there richly. The meat is sporadic, right? Because their hunting is serious. You hunt it or be hunted. It's not just as easy we want to make it. So, but as far as the cultural understanding, people, they misrepresent that all the time. That's on both sides though, right? And it's important for us to know the difference and recognize that African spirituality is just as serious as Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. I've been fighting that the whole time. Okay, but I'm still atheist, meaning that I don't believe that there's a controlling mechanism that human beings could just access at a whim in the middle of a damn football game, scoring a touchdown. God did it. See, in slavery. So I never know what I'm about to say, right? When the slave master prayed to Jesus Christ and God, right? And the slaver prays to Jesus Christ and God. Who does Jesus Christ and God help? Yeah, so there you go. It's a conundrum right there. So we need to recognize that. And so for me, right, I'm a science advocate. I advocate for science, but science, like you say, something that ain't a white or black thing, right? It's a universal language. It's a thing that all humans. It started in Africa, moved to Asia, early times, right? This foundation. So everything is based off of foundation and steps, right? And so I want to make this clear. That's why we don't tear down all our elders, right? Because if you tear down all your elders, then what are you standing on? And then we don't even know what is meant by standing on somebody's shoulders. So I always say I stand on the shoulders of Dr. Ben, right? So if I'm standing on the shoulders of Dr. Ben, I can't be at his damn feet. I'm sitting at the feet of the masses. I'm not sitting at his feet or staring him in his face, repeating everything he's saying, whether it's right or wrong. I'm standing on his shoulders, meaning the things that he got right, I can stand on that because it's solid, right? And then I can see what he can't see. That's why I can correct it. So I'm standing on your shoulders. Now I can see more than you can see. You see, that's how science works, right? You cannot understand the cosmos without learning certain steps. One of the early steps in learning the cosmos, you find it not the player. Somewhere around 7,000 BCE, at not the player, you got a cattle cult, okay? And these people were starting to chart the stars, at least look at the stars, and start to recognize when the monsoon rains would return back and forth, and they ceremonies based around that. Later on, this would end up in Egypt, where they could track, the flooding, okay? So the early look into the cosmos is at not the player. But if you do not get not the player, you can't get to space. There's no, you can't just jump it. In this community, they all jump steps. They want to get there without taking the steps. They fight you like hell over the steps. Each step gets you to the next step. You do not, like Copernicus, right? You got to go through Copernicus, right? Copernicus recognized that the sun did not go around the earth. They introduced the heliocentric model. If you think the earth is flat, if you think that the sun goes around the earth, you can't get to the next step because it's counterintuitive. So us humans, right? How they said we're not risen angels, we actually fallen apes. I do that to get people roused up a little bit, right? We actually apes. All right. I know they're gonna act crazy, look at I'm acting crazy. No, that's what we are, right? There's an understanding that comes with that. Okay. And so apes or humans, right? When you go outside, the earth looks flat. There's no way to understand the size and shape of the earth by just looking at it with your eyes. It's too massive, too big. So of course it looks flat. Okay.
All right, hold up. Let's give the brother a little chance to respond to some of that.
He went out. Got finished the part. Got finished.
Go ahead. Finish that part. Go ahead.
When you go outside and look at the sun actually looks like it rises in the east, right, and sets in the west, or whatever, which way, whatever go. But it looks like it's actually going around us, right, with your eyes. So it looks flat with your visual, and it looks like the sun is going around the earth. So early humans thought that. But if they can't crack that, if they can't figure out a way to realize that actually the earth is traveling around the sun, right? You can't move on to the next step. So go ahead, brother. I just think you jumped steps with the mathematics, and I know you did. The Egyptian mathematics, you dove. You missed the steps. But go ahead.
I don't know. I'll push back. I don't think I jumped steps, because what I explained in the beginning was that with Black people with traditional African science, they understood that there was another dimension, that there was a spiritual realm. Yeah. That's why they pour libation, they did sacrifices and all that stuff. They had an understanding of that, because it was a part of their culture. Now and again, we're talking about a group of people that wasn't influenced by Euro-Asians, the Europeans or the Arabs. This came from a culture that they developed over thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. They developed this understanding that there is another dimension. There's something else there. And today we do that today. A lot of us, we pour out some liquor before we drink. What I'm saying, to honor our passing family members or whoever. This is just what Black people do. And so my point of my presentation was that we had an understanding of science is not just about the material, about the physical world that we see. Our ancestors, traditional African science looks at, we study the physical world. Why did that coconut drop from the tree? Why did that pineapple drop from the tree? You ask these questions, but then you also ask other questions like, wait a minute, what is the spiritual world? What is the spiritual realm? Wait, what was that? Why are you pouring libation? Why are you praying? And they seeing this stuff. You growing up in a society where you seeing this every day, all your life. So one day you have to ask the question, well, how do you represent the spiritual world? How can I represent that? What represents the fourth dimension? So I'm saying that they had an understanding of that. So from their perspective, they're looking at science, they're looking at spirituality, and they don't separate it. Whereas in Western culture, good point, because we grew up here in a Western culture, we see the logic in separating science from religion. Now, understand that religion and spirituality are not the same thing. They're not the same. Whereas our ancestors, their spirituality was based on observation of their of the ecology of who they live around. You know what I'm saying? Of the stars. It was based on science. That's what it was based on. You know what I'm saying? They you know what I'm saying? We talk about they prayed, they people like, man, oh man, they praying to the sun, the sun god Ra. Man, these people praying to the sun. If you ask the question, if the sun dies, could Jesus save you? If the sun dies, we all die. So it kind of makes sense. Hey, thank you for coming up today, son. I appreciate you. It's like, so they studied the world around them. They studied the universe, and they put together a system, a belief system that was based on actual science, not a woman coming from a man's rib. That I don't understand how that makes sense. So yeah, I understand I understand where you're coming from, brother. However, I would say that at the same time, we have to understand that sometimes we are looking at the world and that we are looking at our ancestors through the lenses of the Europeans, because we were educated by the Europeans. We weren't educated in the traditional African system. We were educated in a school that's based on Eurocentric philosophy.
Okay, Master Hercules.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. Can I ask Ankh a quick question here? Ankh. Now, when we dealt with, like you was talking about Napta Playa, before that, as you dealt with the hunter-gatherer period, meaning we hunt, we gather. Okay, I got that. So when we got to the star systems and started learning different stars and when they came out, would you say that's when agriculture became a part of it, where we could know when to plant something, know when to gather it, to get it, rather than just getting it simultaneously as we see it? If it ain't there, it ain't there. We got to just try to find something.
Yeah, I would like to add that farming can be looked at as actually crop failing, meaning the plants aren't growing as readily as they was. So you got to figure out a way. All right. And so
And would you-
everybody look at it as being this great thing, but it's backbreaking work.
Yeah.
So
But would you say the stars
yeah,
played a part in it? Oh,
no, I'm saying so not the playa, they start to be able to follow the seasons,
Yeah.
track them. Okay. So right. And so that helped with farming. You can figure out because if you don't plant at the right time, when you catch that rain, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. So see how their steps are?
Yep.
You gotta be able to look at when the plant it's a step there. And so he's wrong.
So and also real quick, I'm that was a step I called Ngozi because I couldn't get you. I called you first. I needed you on this show, and here you are. So go ahead.
No, and Ngozi called me and said, yo, check in.
Okay.
So I got the message.
He told me he was gonna call you.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did that. Check in. So I'm checking in, you know. So Hercules makes a key mistake here. His mistake is the thinking. He's right. Our ancestors didn't separate it. But that was the issue. The issue is that for 350,000 years, humans couldn't separate the two things. First of all, at 300,000 years, there is no science. There's a not science, though, it's proto. Okay? We would say proto-science. All right? 350,000, they couldn't separate the two ideas. Now watch this. Let's come to the here. All y'all have seen me. Let me pull this right here. I'm gonna show you where they started to try to separate it. Here it go right here. Right here. This is the atlas. The atlas of the human body, right? Okay, now they got source material in the back. Okay. So we had these conversations. We don't just talk. We do it. Y'all seen it, see? All righty. Look. All right. Ancient Egyptian. So here, look. This is a reference. Okay, now watch. Okay. This is one of those attempts to separate your religion from your proto-science. It says the Edwin Smith papyrus, written in ancient Egypt script, 1900 to 1600 BCE. Okay, it says is the earliest known, listen to me, the earliest known medical literature, okay, consisting of 48 case histories. It describes conditions, diagnosis, and treatment in a rational, systematic way for the first time in human history. So from 350,000 years, right, to 1900 BCE, it took all that time to try to even begin to get rational, right? Being consistent, to separate that from your spookism, right? All that, and they hadn't quite did it because when you start to read, they consistent with it, and then on the next damn page they go right back to the gods right there. So that's like you going to the doctors and he got a prescription, right? He write a prescription for you, right? But then he not sure if it worked. On the bottom, put a scripture there, John 3:16. You get that? See how the two will work hand in hand is what you're saying. But in reality, right, the John 3:16 does not help the medicine work. And as long as
it was a placebo.
No, man, I don't know what you killed me with that.
Placebo. I mean, it didn't really. It wasn't a word, but that healed you with the
All
process.
right, hold on, man. Let me get my man Hercules back in here because I want to make sure he get his show in.
Yeah, so that's a good. Just rock with that for a minute. Just digest that for a minute.
So yeah,
you got to use conflicting. But go ahead.
It's not conflicting because as you said, they went right back to try to connect it to spirit to spirituality. However, that script that you read, the script that you're reading, I mean, is what? It's based on what? From
rational thought.
But no. It's based on coming from the European point of view of what rational thought is. Hold up, wait, let me finish.
Oh, go ahead.
Let me finish. It's coming from their definition of what rational thought is. So if you let someone like Dr. Luyaka analyze that script, read that script as well, he might come up with a different point of view and say, wait a minute, I can see the spirituality in what they were saying. I can see, as I showed the brother, the guy, the guy Marshall Clegg in his book. You know, he said, you know, he pointed out that throughout the whole history of Kemet, there was no separation of spirituality and science. They didn't separate it. Okay. So yeah, okay, we got that. You got that one point where they doing medical science and they explaining everything. If I'm going to explain to you how to set a bone, you know what I'm saying? I might not know. I might not say, yeah, you know, I might include the deities or the rock because that doesn't apply to how to set a bone or how to, you know what I'm saying, how to heal a fracture. But I'm gonna just explain it to you straight in detail. But that doesn't mean that I let go of the deities, of the ancestors who helped me gain this knowledge. That don't mean that at all. It's just showing you that he's been straight and direct with how to do this medical work on people. It doesn't mean that they let go of the belief system.
Okay, and this is a dope conversation right here. I promise you. So I'm gonna come back to the literature again. Mm-hmm. This is the medical milestones. Medical milestones, same book, right? You know what a milestone is? It's a human achievement, right? And so on this calendar right here, right? Timeline. Look, it says 2650 BCE. Imhotep, one of the first physicians known by name, and the father of Egyptian medicine is born. It says surviving papyri indicate much earlier origins of Egyptian medicine knowledge, right? And then you get to the Chinese, you get that, but you need the milestones. And so you're absolutely right. Our ancestors had not gotten to the point where they separated the two. They can't get out of their way. It's not till later on. But first, you got to get this step right here. You got to get this step where you're trying to pull it apart. That's the step where you can get rational, right? Where you can have consistent case histories and diagnoses. You got to be able to do that, right? And then still have your spirituality there. Catch what I'm saying? That's a step. But the ultimate goal is to remove the spirituality and just deal with the data. Just deal with the rational thought. Just because the Babylonians, proto-astronomy, right? And astrology, okay? Stuff. They couldn't even know the difference. So they thinking that when the king is born under this thing, the stars aligned and affected it. That's a wild decision right there. Wrong is 2 left feet. The stars don't affect human behaviors, but they couldn't separate it. It's not till later on to the Greeks do that. In ancient Africa, right, they had astrology. All right? They wasn't there to date, no, my fault, astronomy. The Greeks come in with astrology, right? Nabta was proto or pre-astronomy, okay? So we ain't had that to separate, okay? The Greeks brought that in. So our community be big up in the Dendera, but that's the Greek temple in Africa, in Egypt. The Ptolemies, right? We was dealing with proto-astronomy. Now, astronomy is a scientific endeavor, all right, based in math and equations, all right? But our ancestors, okay, once again, they had not gotten to this step where they separated. You know this to be the truth because the quote-unquote, the Assyrians came in and smashed us out. They came in with, they were starting to use iron, right? After the Assyrians come in, right? Then you got the Babylonians, you got the Greeks, you got the Romans. Time after time again, if we had been able to separate that, right, then we would have been able to protect ourselves. So the spiritual piece is dope, but as long as you have it connected to your science, dog, you done. Because the ones that end up winning in the end was the ones that could separate their signs. Your spirituality ain't gonna move nothing. If you got an intercontinental ship and know how to navigate the oceans and know how to make a sail, you're gonna beat somebody that's praying to Jesus Christ all day long. You're gonna beat somebody that's throwing down the lekba or doing whatever they're doing. You're gonna get them every time. So
makes sense.
Have science.
Right, so it seems like it makes sense. Again, it seems like it makes sense But the problem is this: you're rationalizing your thoughts from a European point of view. So you're saying that because you're able to separate your spirituality from your science, original science, you're become more advanced. That's a Eurocentric ideology. That is not an African ideology at all. All right. I know. And so we're looking at it. So you're looking at it because we were raised in the Western culture. But if we're looking at it from an African point of view, from the books, from my understanding, first I'm gonna wait. Remind me to come back to Jesus and the Europeans. From my understanding,
write that down.
White people they couldn't penetrate into Africa to get slaves. They coerced other black people to go in and capture slaves, and do all that stuff, to sell slavery, because when it came down to the fighting, they would lose.
Who would lose?
So they used other African people to go in and capture slaves to sell them to them. They didn't do it themselves. All right.
Master Hercules, 1 second, real quick. Just because I want you to piggyback on what Ankh said. Did the temple, I asked chat this, did the temple of Het Horu have astronomy?
Hold up, brother, hold up. When you do that, you knock them off their square and they forget what they were going to say. I always say that. Allow the brother to finish. And of course, Ra Khufu, I will let you come in.
Peace.
Just write it down. Just let them finish.
I got it. Sarah wants you to put the link in so he can come in. I thought I sent that to you.
The link is up there. The link is in there. It's in the chat at the top.
Let me tell him. All right.
Yeah, Hercules, continue, King.
So I think a perfect example of this is Haiti, where you had different people of African descent, African nations came together in one spirituality. They combined their thoughts, they combined their energy in that one spiritual system, that one spiritual deity, voodoo. And they became undefeated. It came to a point where the Europeans couldn't beat them. And this was during what? The height of slavery, of the slave trade. They couldn't beat them. They had to coerce, use trickery to defeat them. And so the same thing, from what I understand from reading, if y'all could correct me if I'm wrong, from reading The Destruction of Black Civilization, it was the same thing. It wasn't no head-on-head battle where they lost. It was more of coerce and trickery to coming in to defeat these kingdoms and these civilizations. And when we talk about the Babylonians, the Persians coming in and defeating the people of Kemet, again, that was what? From the intermarrying and the again, like I said, I might be wrong. From my conclusions of reading Destruction of Black Civilization, the intermarrying with the Asian women, the Asian wives and stuff like that, and weakening the kingdom allowed the Persians to come in to where they dominated and took over. And again, we talking about the time the Persians came in, around 600 BC. So, the kingdom, the civilization was what, we still got that 3,000, that 4,000 year that span. So spirituality has always been a hallmark and a cornerstone of African thought and African life, African systems. They saw spirituality as not just, you praying to the deities, you're praying, you're pouring libation, this and that, and you're hoping this and that. No. And another thing we have to remember is that people like Imhotep were initiated. These were like what? The higher priests. They were initiated, so they had that knowledge. Not everybody had that knowledge. You had to be initiated into the system to know certain things. So not everybody knew that knowledge. Not everybody had an understanding. There were certain levels. So the thing that brother Dr. Luyaka explained in his book, and as he go into the spiritual system, he was saying how positive energy could only be used for positive things. So when they talk about restoring Ma'at, they got to go to war and put their enemies down. However, when you look at it, they also say, please forgive me. You know, they tell you about, yo, please forgive me. You know, they have to, you know, they got to kill these people and do this and that. But, you know, they got to restore Ma'at. They know they got to put Ma'at back on the stone. So I don't see them. I don't see a letting go of your spiritual energy, your spiritual self as a positive and being more advanced. That's more of a European thought, the way of they looking at the world. And that's only because they're not spiritual people. They can't relate to the spirit like we relate. You know what I'm saying?
Why you say that though?
Wait, hold up, because I was going next. To both of you guys' credit, I did a search real quick on the Temple of Het Heru, have astronomy, and then Dendara came in with the Greeks later and came with astrology. So it say, yes, in the Kemetic ancient Egyptian tradition, there's a real historical distinction between the astronomy-centered role of the Temple of Het Heru, Hathor, and the latter more astrology-focused associated seen in the Temple of Dendara, though in reality, they're part of the same temple complex. So when the Egyptians was in power, they practiced astronomy. When the Greeks came in, they practiced astrology, or Ptolemaic, or the Roman era, when the Ptolemies came in, not the Greeks. And that's what you say, exactly. And now to Hercules credit, let me just say this to her, and I'm gonna get off the mic and let you go. To your credit, though, Hercules, and Ankh has backed this before. Like in a basketball game, we get in a certain chant, go Panthers, or we got a certain thing we say. That's kind of how religion is. It's like they practiced it to be in a certain mode. Like when Imhotep came in, he came in like a player, like he had whoop whoop and rah rah, and then here it comes. And it came. It was a rhythm. So it's almost like if we are the same team and we all got a certain thing we say to each other to boost our boost us up. So the religious part, the spirit, we shouldn't give up. We should hold on to laws and stuff. Like if Ankh was in the society of Ma'at, thou should not kill. That's a law. That's subjective. So I could be like, you say that, I don't say that. That ain't no sign. No, but it's still spiritual. And certain things we do honor our spiritual ancestral past. So both I like. Go ahead though.
All right. Let me I want to say this real quick.
Man, I had a point to make off of what you said, man.
You always say you got all right, go ahead. Remind me to come back to that Christian.
No, I'm gonna make it short. You keep saying that just because you got to separate it, that we shouldn't have spirituality. I never said that. What I said was you have to separate the two, or else you can't move to the next step. That's exactly what I said. I never said that. Now, this is subjective when you say that they can't tell spirit. They made up the word spirit. White people did. Panyua. It's the Greek word for spirit, right? You got to go to the indigenous word on what they were saying, right? Ruach. The Hebrews, Ruach. That's the wind. That ain't got nothing to do with African people. So you got to dig a little bit deeper. But the point I want to make here, and I'm gonna drop it short right here, is I'm not saying that you don't got to be spiritual. I'm saying that you can't mix that shit. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, no profanity, but it do got something to do with African people. It do come from African people because that's how they learn it. So just because they have a different name and different terminologies don't mean it didn't come from African. So we was the only spiritual people in the world. So
and the word spirit is too.
All come from us. It do, my brother.
The word spirit in ancient Metal Netter is cool.
Rakufu. One mic, brother. Just because they changed the wording of it, don't mean it ain't come from us. They do that because they don't want people to see the plagiarism going on. So that's why they begin to change things. Just like in Kemet, just like Christianity and Kemet, they change certain things to make it look like they come up with it. But when you go back to it, you'll see it comes right up out of Kemet, brother. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead. You can respond.
Just like the word voodoo means spirit. Go ahead.
So you're saying, no, it don't. It means no.
Hold up.
You got to know what it meant to them.
So
y'all hyper-diffusionists. Y'all hyper-diffusionists, right? You know what that means, right?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Hyper-diffusionism. Like everything is just one big culture on earth. And everything came from that culture. Yeah, that's wild, but go ahead.
That's not it. I mean, I don't. I ain't picking on that. So yeah, so I'm saying, so you saying, saying is so what you said, is separated, and you can move forward.
Yeah, in science. I'm not saying in your life as a spiritual person. I ain't saying that. I'm saying in science.
In science. And so what I'm saying, and what I try to show, is that our ancestors, because they connected to the spirituality, they was able to do the things, they was able to move forward in the knowledge of science, and they did what they did. That's why they did a particle in a box. What we call today, the Schrodinger's equation. They already did that. You know what I'm saying? They already had that 4,000 years ago.
What?
So, yo, me and I already had this discussion about, calculus and ancient Egypt and all that stuff. So, and
how
again,
you gonna have calculus? How you gonna have calculus though before division, bro?
Come on.
They knew division.
Before 1, 2, 3 adding.
They knew division. So wait, hold up. So here it is.
Man, no, but I'm saying you gotta, you know what I'm
Process.
saying?
Come on,
It's this process.
They already had that. They already knew that.
How before show it? You can't show it.
I already showed you.
No, you made that up. You ain't really showing nothing.
In Saqqara, with the book, remember the book I showed you with Marshall Glad? Yeah. Don't even try. Anyway, so we said, you were saying you can't move forward scientifically.
It's right. It's gonna kill you.
Okay, hold up. So he's saying you can't move forward scientifically,
right? And what you see
without, what I'm saying, if you don't separate it. And I'm saying that they did move forward, and they showed us, they left us physical evidence of their scientific knowledge. And I'm saying that one of the most advanced scientific studies that we have today that came from the 20th century in the 1900s was, a particle in a box. And they already did that with the King's Chamber, a particle in a box.
Wow.
Wait, let me finish. If you know what I'm saying, if you look it up, and ask, what's the why is there empty sarcophagus in the King's Chamber? The King's Chamber, it resonates between 30 hertz and 130 hertz inside of the chamber. However, inside that sarcophagus itself, the frequency only resonates at 117 hertz. That is a physical representation of what we call today a particle in a box.
Man,
deep. That's very deep. Real brief. You said that voodoo was a Western concept and a Western concept, but the fine people of Benin say the word voodoo means spirit, God, divinity, or presence in the Fon and Ewe language. Who started voodoo? So how is you saying that we try to hyper diffuse that word when they're saying themselves that's what it means?
No, why would they say that? Why is European religious spirituality standard? How about that? You ever thought about that? Whenever you say, yeah, mean this. No, African people pre-exist Europeans.
Couldn't the Africans be saying, yeah, what you're saying in European is what we're saying before you said it? They could be saying that. You can't just say no. You can.
No, it's not. They had their own understanding, and that's what I've been trying to say for years, bro. Like, if you God is a dramatic word, dramatic tribes, mighty men. That's not what we were trying to convey right there, bro. You know what I'm saying? Think we polytheists. You know, everything is God, bro. Ain't Judaism, Islam, Christianity. They gonna think you crazy, bro.
Not when we say it the way we say there's the great animator and then there's animism. We're all animated.
You just said it. Hold on. You just said animism, right? That's not
animation.
Right. That's not Islam, Judaism, Christianity. It's not the same thing, bro.
They separated.
I never said it was. I never said that. I just said
God ain't animism.
They separate the differences. They separate the science, which is part of why they're not as powerful as the African culture was when it didn't separate the two. So when you separate the two, you do something. You say this over here happens because of this, but the psychology behind it is not included. And when you leave the psychology that's included with the scientific method, then you forget what got you there in the first place in a lot of cases. It's why I have some older astronomy books that have astronomy mixed with the astrology, because the astrology came before the astronomy.
You said
It's
what?
why the psychology is important, and you can will yourself to health often. And when you think bad things
said
about
what?
yourself,
You
your
said what?
body tends to fail itself as well. So the psychology part is very important. And that's the part that they've always considered to be pseudo. But if you consider the psychological edge that you have, you wouldn't think it's pseudo. The only thing about some of the psychology is that some points are fictional. And when things are fictional, that's when we get into the pseudo. But if we get into a mythos or if we watch a TV show, what do? You go emulate that character. You emulate the Justice League all the time. And so when I had the debate with my brother Judah, I pulled these points out. I show you that, look, the doctor would encourage you to think that you're Heru. And when you start to think like Heru, you start to overcome your doubt about getting healthy again. And then they would also give you the medicine that was prescribed, and you willed yourself into being. The Europeans really didn't leave that out. They do it with Jesus now. And so Jesus made their atom bomb, if you ask Donald Trump. Jesus inspired them to do these things. So stop leaving the psychological edge as Africans out of the things that you create, and you will become more dominant again. But if you leave it behind, you're going to look at yourself like, oh, look, my oppressor has evolved past me, as we would say, huh? So if you think he evolved past you just because he made a bunch of weapons, that's not the case. The problem is we're African. We come from a loving culture. So we don't tend to make weapons of mass destruction or look to destroy people. Remember, we call the Greeks our children. They never called you their children. One, because you came before them. Two, they called you their teachers. And three, because we have evolved past destructive methods. But when you start to get destroyed, then you have to use some of those destructive methods. And if you had the weapons of mass destruction, you wouldn't be saying these things about your African culture, because you'd be in control still.
Okay, y'all sound crazy as hell. What I'm gonna tell you is the damn Egyptians got beat by the damn Assyrians because they had better weapons. On that, they had stone weapons. The Egyptians did. They came in that iron and whipped their ass. No raw came, no nothing came. Y'all tripping right now. I'm not doing this. I'm not arguing with
Who
y'all.
won the battle with Kadesh?
The proof is in the pudding. I'm gonna say this again. The proof
Who
is
won
in
the battle with Kadesh?
No, you just trying to throw me off my square. The proof is in the pudding, right? Plain and simple. All right. The Assyrians was able to take Egypt. It was the fucking the Nubians chased their ass out. All right, let's get that straight. Then they Pionki them niggas. They empire, they had the largest empire. Their empire stretched all the way from Monroe all the way to the Mediterranean. Y'all tripping right now. The Egyptians didn't have the weaponry to keep them off their ass, yo. We gotta stop that. That's what we gonna stop. They were so spiritual they got beat. African Americans are said to be some of the most religious people on planet Earth. And look where our position is. We didn't fell. We damn near, we about to be at the bottom and start from the top now, as far as the wealth and the economics. We at the bottom. Underneath us is the Native Americans. The Mexican population has passed us now. Right? And we're the most spiritual. Why? Because when people are oppressed the most, right? They lean on religion. Rich person ain't staying in church all day because he got to get back to his business. A poor person be in church all day long, trying to wait for the blessings. I ain't want to go this way, but you forced me to. The only reason the Egyptians lost is because they had subpar weaponry. They would not use the iron. They got the meteorite, right? With some iron in it, they was able to craft a daggone dagger out of that, right? Right. If they'd have just kept working right there, yo, they'd have been in the game. But so I'm just saying it's right there for you to see, bro. So
Okay,
I'm tired of that spirituality. No, bro.
That's what I'm saying. That's what he was saying is that who is this? I don't know the guy. Some guy, Christopher or something. Some book he just came out with about that. They was smelting. Was it iron?
West Africa. They got smoked. They was smoking iron maybe 8,000 long time ago.
Oh, the knot culture.
Yeah, it was
long time ago, right?
Early. Yeah.
So the thing. So what he was as Asar was saying. This was I remember John Henry Clark said this when I heard this when I was a teenager. He said that the ancient Egyptians had the knowledge to make gunpowder and all that stuff, but they didn't. And as a teenager, when I was growing up, I used to always think like, why not? Only if they did it, like, damn, if they would have did that, man, we could have they would have stopped it. But now I understand because that was not how they thought.
Untrue, Mr. Hercules. I gotta say this, sir.
Wait, hold
Shake
up.
on to Diop. Shake on to
Yo,
Diop.
yo. One mic.
He made a mistake. I need to help.
No, you come in after that, though, brother. You help him after it. You next. Yeah, let him finish.
Let me finish. Yeah, then definitely correct me on it. Definitely correct me. So they didn't think in the process of, look, we want to create, like I said, they didn't go against Mayat.
What?
In my whole presentation, what I was showing you guys, they had advanced knowledge of mathematics. And what they did was they would not create something that went against Mayat. They didn't create something that's going to pollute the earth, pollute the water, pollute the ground. They didn't do that. For them to pollute the earth that's a sacrilege. However, for Western culture, you could pollute the earth, we could pollute the water as long as scientific progress. It's fine because you're going to make $1 billion. That's fine. You could kill 100,000 people, off your product. That's fine. Long as you make this money. That's how Westerners think.
Question.
Wait, let me make that statement.
No.
I'm coming in right after him. Hold up.
No, man.
No, hold up. You can't do that. Now, Sardis told me I could stop and answer him.
Yeah, for what I'm saying is that for our ancestors, they didn't think about, look, I'm going to destroy the planet just to make a scientific progress.
This is crazy.
So what I was showing you, what I was showing in the presentation is that their knowledge of mathematics and science is just now, Western culture is just now catching up to, because they already understood a particle in a box. They already understood wavelengths, waves and travels and particles. They understood it, and they built the pyramids to show us, and they left it to show you that, look, this is what you do. You don't have to destroy the planet. All right, so that's
okay.
They didn't know it was the damn planet.
Hold up, Massa. You just said we didn't invent gunpowder. Yeah, we did invent gunpowder before China ever had gunpowder. Africans used to use gunpowder in the Osiris mysteries. Sheikh Hantadi up my source. African origins of civilization, myth, or reality. All you have to do is read the book. It's sourced up in the book where it tells you that Osiris festivals used gunpowder way before China. So we knew how to make gunpowder, and we did it.
But what was they doing with the gunpowder?
No, hold on, man.
Making explosions like fireworks.
Y'all gotta stop.
Wait, hold up. Let me. I want to hear what you gotta say. Wait, I want to hear what you gotta say. What was they doing with the gunpowder though?
It was a ceremonial ritual. Asar maybe can answer it better. Go ahead, Asar.
So that's what I'm saying.
Making the fireworks and explosions with it.
That's what I'm saying. They use it. Hold up. They use it to you're gonna create to make this explosion and whatever. However, the Europeans use it to what? To make weapons to
They're
kill.
just doing fire stuff with it. Yeah,
different mindset. It's a different mindset.
But,
listen.
But the thing is this: like, people tell this story so wrong in the first place. They like, and they came and they knocked you off, but that's not the case. If you have several wars over time with different countries, eventually you will fall off. So remember, even after we beat up Greece, remember, we colonized Greece. That's how Greece pays taxes to Egypt. That's what the movie 300 is about. Finally, all those countries over there in Europe got together because they got tired of paying the taxes after Hannibal went over there and burned Athens to the ground, and they unified and they came to get busy with us. When the Assyrians and Cambyses came over initially, they got busy too. Yeah, that's how the history goes, in case you didn't know it. So when the Assyrians come over and Cambyses starts, remember the brother Psamtik, I believe is his name. He was married to his sister. And when they had beef with each other, they tell how the war goes. They say they slit her throat in a big thing of milk. The priests start to drink it. They lift their weapons, and that's how the battle starts. The Assyrians start rushing towards them. The Egyptians start rushing back at them, and they end up losing the war. But the Nehesi were who everybody called, because the Nehesi didn't have anything incredibly great weapon-wise. They had arrows.
Right.
And they were nice with shooting them. So
we
nobody
doing
wanted
that,
funk with them.
we doing that
That's
right
why
now.
they call them the great eye smiters, brother.
Listen,
Now,
man.
the only issue, Egyptians had bigger shields. They had the maces, which were wood, and they were starting to make bronze weapons as well. So that wasn't the issue. Even with the Hittites had to go to a standstill with the Egyptians, and then they made a treaty. It's the first treaty in history where two countries get together and squash beef. That's historical records
They was fighting a
that you
war.
should know
Not
when
the
you speak
peaceful
on.
Egyptians wasn't fighting no war. Couldn't have
Yeah,
been.
Egyptians were. And then when we go back further, when
If you don't fight
Greece
a war, why would
conquers
you want to have the
Egypt,
best weapons to fight a
watch
war?
this.
Y'all
When
just
Greece
crazy
and
as hell,
Rome
right?
conquer Egypt with their supposedly sophisticated weaponry, they run up on Nubia and they lose to the female Kandakis who kick their butt
Fact.
and walk them up out of there.
You know what?
So
yo,
if you're
hold
going to
on.
tell the history, you
All right,
got to tell the history right.
Okay, Assault, listen. Y'all got to stop playing, yo. The reason the news
Don't
was
fake
so
pump.
serious because they had better bow technology than
Yeah.
everybody else around them. What the hell is going on, man? They had
Yeah.
long range shit, man. They were big, strong. Look, the bows was big, shaped away. That was serious war technology. The oldest war on planet Earth is in Africa. And if the Africans had a thermonuclear weapon, they would have used it on people. Y'all wild out right now, yo. It don't even make no sense what you're saying. Think about it. You're saying that the object was to restore Ma'at. Am I correct in that? That is balance, truth, righteousness, right? But if your ass got stone weapons, you ain't restoring nothing with somebody with iron weapons. You can restore, get booted the hell up out of there. You can't restore my yacht. But if you're people that want to restore my yacht and you got better weapons, you can make people bow down and restore my yacht. Y'all tripping right now, bro. Africans led the way in war technology. Well, like, are we kidding right now? Like, I cannot believe y'all don't know this, man.
Wait, hold up.
Who made the chariot?
Don't hold on me. Now I'm on the roll. Hold on, bro.
Well, see,
I'm saying the first 2 million years of human history, Africans led the way. You can read it in UNESCO. And you don't lead the way not unless you lead the way in technology. Like, we can't keep doing this to ourselves, bro.
But can we help Asar? Can we help Asar with one thing? Asar said Hannibal had burned Athens to the ground. No, Hannibal never even went to Athens. Here's the historical breakdown. Hannibal Barca was the Carthaginian general famous for fighting Rome during the Second Punic War. His campaign took place mainly in Italy, Spain, and North Africa, not Greece, where Athens is. Hannibal never led an army into Athens, and there is no ancient record of him attacking or destroying it. So it's no such thing as he destroyed or burned down Athens. What is something you missing there that you do know, but you saying it wrong? Asar, can you help the people?
The original library that the Greeks had was burned down by Hannibal. Where did Athens get moved to after he burned it down?
You off with your time, please, yo.
All right, hey, hold on, y'all.
No, we're not.
Hold on, everybody.
Alexandria.
Everybody, hold on. I want to bring in the brother because I ain't got too long. I got another show to do at 9 o'clock. Let me bring in Asar 7. Good to see you, brother. I ain't see you in a minute. What's up, Asar 7? What do you got to say, brother?
Peace.
Peace.
Peace to everybody on the panel. I want to tell the brother Hercules, I did enjoy his presentation. I do have some things to push back on him about as far as when it comes to science and Black people and Western civilization. I don't think that our influence with Europeans spoiled our outlook on science, because we still have our spirituality, right? Slavery and our influences with Europeans didn't take the spirituality from Black people. We actually gave them some spirituality they didn't have, and they still taking that from us today. What you're saying is that Europeans, they'll take science and approach it in a different way than we would as Africans. Because even if you look through science and the history of it, Europeans got it from us, from Africans, right? They saw what, like you said, you went into to Kemet and you saw all the mathematical equations on the walls. You saw all of the papyri. You saw all of the historical records of Greeks and other Europeans going into Kemet and learning these sciences and these practices, like Ankh spoke on as far as the medicine practice with Imhotep. And then even when you come over here to the slaves, there were slaves that assisted Europeans who so-called invented things, right? But it was, you later on come to find out that there was actually either slaves who invented it or a Black person who assisted and did most of the work. So we still were scientists, no matter whether we were enslaved in Africa, separated from Africa. We still took that information with us over here. So yeah, white people might not use religion or spirituality in science, but that does not, even that fact doesn't say that Black people or Africans, without the influence of Europeans even coming into their lives, that's not to say that there wouldn't be no Africans that wouldn't be able to separate science and spirituality.
Why would you say
right?
that? Why would you say that? I never said that.
Why?
I never said
No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the other brother. No, I'm not saying you, Unc. I'm actually agreeing with you, Unc.
Oh.
What I'm saying is he can't say that Africans, just because they had an influence with Europeans, that they wouldn't be able to separate spirituality and science, or they wouldn't practice a form of science separate from their spirituality, right? To that rational thinking that you're
now. They do it right now. Africans practice
exactly
and not mix their spirituality with it. Like I can't.
I agree with you. So for him to try to say that Europeans influence on us took us away from being able to look at science the same way Africans did, I disagree with that.
Good point.
But I do agree that we do use science more morally and more connected with our spirituality. That's why we had access to gunpowder, like the brother Rakufu said. And so did Asians had access to gunpowder, but we never thought to weaponize them because we didn't look at destroying each other or the planet in that manner.
Not true.
Right?
That's what I was just saying.
Yeah.
No, that's
And,
not.
and
We don't weaponize them to
the
destroy the planet or other people. Right? You have to show me in history, Unc, if you disagree with me, you have to show me in history where we weaponize gunpowder.
Man, they didn't. Man, listen, bro. Listen. Because we didn't know what the hell it was. Simple.
We knew what it was.
One at a time. I saw it. Let him finish. Let him finish, brother.
All I'm saying is, and that's okay, bro. Somebody else got that. And how about the Hittites with the chariots? The Egyptians took the shit. They had
no profanity. I'm
good. You can, man, you ain't looking at new rules on YouTube. You can say a cuss word every blue moon. Yo, you good. You gotta relax. Read the rules.
Yeah, I know. I did. But sure, I did see that. Go ahead.
But what I'm saying is they had 4-wheel chariots, right?
The Uncle's right. I know where he's going.
Gonna bump. You couldn't shoot nothing from the back. The Egyptian took it, cut it in half, modified, put shock absorbers on it. Then you had a horseman and the person in the back, because the shock absorber put armor around it, you know what I'm saying, leather armor around it, and got a serious high-speed chariot, bro. So we gotta stop that, man. It's okay, bro. So we don't gotta have everything and do everything because we're humans. And guess what? The Egyptians were so serious because they had access to the Mediterranean world and they could bring different ideas in. See, sometimes having different ideas help you see what you can't see sometimes. Ain't nothing wrong with that. How you think Europeans, y'all keep saying Europeans did this, you did. No, what they did was they learned from different tribes, different people, and just added to what they had. And that's always okay. The way y'all want to do it is y'all want to go back to the daggone Stone Age. That's crazy. It's
going back to the Stone Age. All
so
right, let me
the Stone Age person thinks that you keep your spirituality with your science. And I want to ask y'all this, right? Why y'all keep using the word science? Because y'all not talking about science when you got it mixed in. That's something else. Science, right, is based on not having anything mixed with it. That's what make it science. Y'all talking about something else, so stop using the word. You know why y'all use that word? Because y'all know it's
Nature. You got these people like that. You got Firmicus, who used to do the rituals. You got Philo, the Egyptian, who began to translate Hebrew scripts for Hebrews who only spoke Greek. And so when you have these house Negroes in the house, it begins to fall, burn, and collapse, and you leave that house and create another. Now you have Ifa, Akan, etc., etc. Go ahead.
No, I'm back to you. So you don't know Egyptian history, dog? You playing?
Oh, I do. Are you trying to challenge what I said?
Yeah, yo, I'm saying
Which part? Let's get to it.
Who came in Egypt after Assyria, after the Assyrians, yo?
The Greeks and the Romans.
No, you know.
Yeah.
No.
The Persians.
That's how that works.
No, it's the
In fact, here, I'll give you the history since you don't know it.
And stop it.
The Persians are the Assyrians.
No, man. It's the Assyrians,
Goodness.
then the Persians, then the Greeks, then the Romans. So after Pianki
Watch
them.
this. Separate a Persian and an Assyrian for the people right now. Go ahead.
Just hold on for a minute, yo. You got Pianki in them, right? They bring back the glory days. They restored the Mayat, my nigga. All right? The Nubians did that because they were so entangled with the Egyptian thing. It's cultural entanglement that they knew the daggone thing. Easy work for them, right? Then they beat the Assyrians, right? No, the Assyrians came and got bogged down with malaria, right? They come back 2 years later. You know what I'm saying? This is at about like 100 years of the Nubians ruling, and they beat the Nubians, right? And then the Persians beat the Assyrians. And then remember, the Greeks beat the Persians. Remember that, right? And then the Romans beat the Greeks. We know this history, bro. So after them,
Romans unify with the Greeks.
No, man.
Persians and Assyrians get together with each other. This is why Darius the first son is Hannibal, and Xerxes.
Yo, one mic. Asad, you gotta let them finish. Y'all gotta stop cutting each other.
I'm just trying to make a point, man, that the indigenous rules.
And then you can go, Asad.
After the daggone Nubians, you know what I'm saying, that indigenous control of the land was gone, bro. That's all I'm saying, man. That's all. No complication there, right?
Okay, I got you.
That's all I'm saying, bro.
All right, fam. Yo, I need to step out of here. I appreciate you guys for letting me come through. You know what I'm saying? I love it. And
appreciate the conversation, bro.
You know, my whole point was, hey, let's get back to that African spirituality. That's my whole point. Yeah.
No, that's dope.
All right. I want everybody to know that we are live over there, and you know the next topic of the show, y'all know what it is. All right. If there is no God, there would be no atheism. Ankh, come on over, man, to the slaughterhouse, man. We got
Get them, Get them.
Come on over there. Everybody is welcome. All of y'all welcome over there. Come on in, man. I would like to see my teachers over there, and come on in there. The link is in the chat. It'll bring you right over. All right. The link is in the chat. We are live right now. Peace and blessings. We out. Peace. Come on over, Suntan, Asar.
All right, man, boy, the conversation got real interesting, and it was a theme there, and that theme was off the chain. The thing was that Africans, for some wild reason, was the most peaceful Homo sapiens sapiens that ever traveled the savannas in the earth. And that at no point would they ever want to go to war or use weapons that would actually harm the planet. That's a pseudo theme that have been permeating through the community for years, man. Pseudo theme and pseudo ideas. Wrong. Africans, warfare starts in Africa proper. One of the oldest known wars occurred along the Nile River, somewhere around 10,000 BCE. So this narrative, it's crazy talk. Homo sapiens sapiens, males and females, based off of evolutionary processes, based off of the fact that human apes are amongst some of the most aggressive apes on planet Earth. And the number one thing for Homo sapiens sapiens to do is to reproduce. But the only way you can reproduce is by having secured food, clothing, and shelter, and protection of that food, clothing, and shelter. So finding a way to protect yourself is at a priority. Whether it's the Stone Age, whether it's the Iron Age, whether it's the Bronze Age, it's about protecting yourself. So this wild narrative about they was trying to keep the order, they was trying to keep the mayat, bring the balance. Well, if that is the point, trying to keep the mayat, trying to keep the balance, then you want the best weapons to keep the balance, to keep the mayat. And oh, by the way, they ain't had no idea of about the whole world and where the whole world was. Oh, man, nonsense, man. So let me bring this presentation right here to an end. Big up to SaNeters, right? And that drive-by, you know it's real funky right here. Let me go ahead, and I just want to run through some things to prove my point on how the Africans actually led the way in what you would consider warfare. At least the technology, okay? Led the way in at least the technology. Let me try to get that in. Let me get that in here for y'all. So did Africa lead the way in early war technology? A historical and archaeological overview. Prehistoric and early human period. The oldest known stone-tipped spears, 300,000 years old, found at Katupan, South Africa. Evidence from Sibudu Cave, 64,000 years ago, suggests bows and arrows may have originated in Africa. They also got cave paintings kind of attesting, not at 300,000 years, but there are cave paintings attesting to some of the first bows and arrows. Okay, demonstrates early innovation in ranged and melee weapons. So these weapons, you go from spears, you go from stone tools, handheld stone tools. You go to taking those handheld stone tools and adding leverage to it by adding a stick to it. You make that stick longer. You got a spear. Okay, so you can throw a spear longer, more control over it. You shorten that spear. You develop a bow. You develop your early projectiles instead of humans just throwing it. These are things that was used for protection or skirmishes or fights in Africa proper. Ancient Nubians were renowned as skilled archers, the land of the bow. They got to hold the land is called the bow. That means they had the killer weapons. They called them the eye spider. They shooting out your eyes. The hell, you shooting out somebody's eyes and you're not trying to protect yourself and kill somebody? It's the most ridiculous thing that's been in this community for at least the 20 years I've been in it. Iron and bronze working in areas such as Nook, Nigeria, and Maro, Sudan. Possible independent iron smoking traditions. Foreign technology introduced into Africa. His ghost introduced horse-drawn chariots to Egypt, 1650 BCE. Composite bow, also introduced by Hyksos from Western Asia. Egypt integrated these into their own military system. Why would they need a military? And then why wouldn't you want the best weapons in your military? Because you fighting people with weapons. So this whole nonsense, but they didn't want to destroy the world. Hell, you have to know the world. Man hadn't even reached the point where they had weapons that could destroy the world until the introduction of the atom bomb. Boy, don't we wish we had that in Africa, huh? Right. Summary and conclusions. Africa led in some of the earliest weaponry and metalworking, pioneered stone tips, spears, bows, and possibly earlier iron smelting. Later adopted key innovations, chariot, composite bow, from other regions. Right, man, because they humans, man. And here's your sources, man. Go ahead and screenshot that. All right. Get that into your download, man. So that's where we at. Man, I appreciate y'all for actually tuning in. Important, right? And man, y'all know what it is, man. Ain't people gonna stop playing around here, man. They be tripping, man. Boy, I tell you, man.
Body banger from the block, seen it all raw tough. Streets of Baltimore where survival's always rough. Joined the Marines fighting for a life he could save. But back in the hood, he felt like a runaway slave. Started an army, not of guns but of wisdom. I'm a rock squad, truth the anthem, we ain't just a God killer. Bobby Banger on his path for the truth. Empower the people, give them wisdom as the proof. Black power rising, knowledge shines like a light. He's fighting for the future, ready to ignite.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all, man. You know, pulling up, man, on this quick drive-by, man. We be doing these whenever I go on channels, man, had these conversations. I want to make sure I bring them to y'all, man. Man, y'all know what it is right now, man. Appreciate everybody coming through, man. Y'all got to go ahead and like and subscribe, man. Show some love, man. Hit them links in the bottom, man. And with that, man, we out.